Fourth graders, we are on our final week of e-learning lessons. So let's make it a good one. Today we're going to talk about representing and interpreting data. So what is data? Data is facts and numbers collected together for somebody to understand. And why is it important to represent and interpret data? Well, data is all around us and it helps us answer questions. Questions such as how many students chose lunch choice number 1, or what is your favorite activity to play at recess? These are just a couple examples of questions. There are many ways that we can use data interpretation though. I use data interpretation all the time in my job. So every time you guys take a Google quiz, I get data such as this. It lets me know which students completed the quiz. It lets me know what questions students got wrong and which ones they got correct. All of that's going to help me plan future lessons. I can see maybe I need to plan another lesson because students are struggling. You guys are used to 3 types of data representation. You guys have learned this in 3rd grade and we covered in 4th grade. One of them is line plots. As you see, there's a line plot here. This line plot tells me that this is showing hours spent reading, and we know that the X represents 1 student. Line plots are great, especially when you're using data that involves fractions. We also know about bar graphs. Here's a bar graph that lets us know the favorite sports of 3rd and 4th graders. Bar graphs are great for comparing different amounts. And we have the pictograph. Obviously, it's called pictograph because it uses pictures to represent data. So we know the pencil represents 2 students, and this chart is letting us know which subjects are students' favorites. We're going to be focusing on the line plot today. So take a look at this line plot. What do you think this line plot is telling you? What data does this line plot represent? So what do the numbers along the bottom represent? Well, it says that. It says miles run in a week. So we know we start off with 3 miles, and at the end it shows 5 miles. So between 3 and 5 miles is what this data represents. We can also answer questions such as, what do the X's represent? Well, the X's represent the running club members. How many students? How many club members recorded how far they ran this week on the line plot? So you can answer that using it. So if we count all the X's, how many would we get? Well, I see 12, because there's 12 X's. So we know that 12 students or 12 members recorded their miles they ran. What was the greatest number of miles that a member ran? Well, it doesn't go past 5 miles, so we know that 5 miles would be the answer. And we can even answer the question, how many people ran fewer than 4 miles? So we look at the 4, and any X's that are under anything less than 4 is how many miles or miles students ran less than 4 miles. So it looks like there are 6 students that ran less or fewer than 4 miles. And we can even ask the question, how many miles did the people in the club run all together? So I'm not going to go ahead and do that now, but if we wanted to, we know that 5 people or 3 people ran 5 miles, so we would add up that, and we just add up the total amount, and we would get our answer. So some steps that you can take when doing or interpreting data from a line plot. Ask yourself, what is this information about, and what do the numbers or names represent? Organize the data. So after you can make sense of what the data is, you can put it in a chart and label the parts. If you remember the previous chart, the line plot, every line plot has a title. So our last slide showed his running club, so it had a title. And then at the bottom, it labels what each of those numbers represents. So make sure that you organize the data by labeling the parts. And then we can read the data. So line plots, again, there just makes it super easy to answer questions. So you're going to be getting a Google form quiz, and on that quiz, there is a picture or a line plot. You're going to study the line plot. You're going to ask yourself what the information is telling you, and then you're going to answer some questions. Be sure that you answer the questions carefully. You read the questions carefully. You're also not going to insert any letters or symbols. You're simply going to type in numbers if it asks you to do so. If you have any questions, please email me or message me on Remind.